What up, you guys? We are here for our weekend reflection message. And it really does tie up all our week's lessons together. And coincidentally, and not coincidentally, coinciding with my Kabbalah 9 Class 1. So I take Kabbalah classes through the Kabbalah Center, KabbalahCenter.com. And I had signed up for a Kabbalah 9 course, and it's like they do it via Zoom sometimes, and they'll send you like either you can join the Zoom live or you can like watch the replay. So usually I end up having to watch the replay because of my work schedule. I work in the evenings now. Although I do highly recommend like doing a class like that live in the Zoom because it's like, I don't know, it gives you something different. It's a different level, different layers. So I was watching finally, or listening to a Kabbalah Class 9, or Kabbalah 9 Class 1, while I was cooking the other night. And I just happened to listen to it just in time because it was recorded during this period called the Omer, which is still going on, I think, until like June 13th or 14th. But it's a 7-week period following Passover that tests the 7 level or the 40 levels of the soul, something like that. Like all the levels of the soul are tested. And so basically this is like when the Israelites get out into the wilderness and they're like, shit, like, I don't know, I don't have any certainty, I don't have routine, like nothing is clear, everything's all upside down right now, like I don't know what to do, I just want to run back to the devil I know, and continue on in the box that I'm comfortable with. And so that's what we all do. We all go back to the muscle memory, even in our neurology, even in our nervous systems, of what we're used to, the patterns that we're familiar with. So it's challenging to try to train our already learned self into being a new self. That's why Jesus talked about being born again as if a baby coming out of its mother all over again, right? It's like being born again to oneself. It's like everything that you know, just let it go. Just start fresh, right? Let go of the shame, the programming, the guilt. Like if only we could, then we would be back to our original, resilient, completely spirit-filled state. It's just like it's like silver, and it builds up grime and it corrodes over time, and you have to keep it polished, so that's the same with our soul. And it's funny too, because silver is associated with the feminine, and the feminine is the soul, right? We receive the creator, we receive the Christ, we receive, the consciousness when it comes in. So that's very interesting. So our lesson in Kabbalah 9, all that to say, was like, as the class went by, it was just like an even deeper look into the pause. What a pleasure. Why is this in my movie? And the parable at the beginning, or the story or the illustration, was that there was this like Kabbalah teacher, and he was talking to one of his students, or it was like a rabbi talking to a student, and the student was like telling him about all this stuff like falling apart in his life and this like seemingly negative events going on, and it was just like everything was falling apart, his ego was just like getting like torn in shreds. And he looked at the rabbi and he was like, you don't seem like you like are feeling my pain. He like called him out on being like aloof and just like, yeah, you seem detached. Am I boring you? And the rabbi was like, no, actually, like the truth is, no, I don't feel your pain because I'm excited for you. And basically what he was saying is like, it's right when we go into the abyss that like the change happens. That's when like the chaos ensues and the storm ensues. That's when everything gets brought up and you're able to see it finally and do something about it, to try to face it, to address it, to feel it, and to process and heal and transmute that, transform it. And so it was likened, to like our shadow right now in the Omer is coming up for us to see. And it's actually a pleasure. Wow, we're so lucky. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that something is triggering me, because now I can see where my soul still has gaps, where the ego and the illusions can come in, and the opponent can come in and mess with me and throw me off of my inner peace, throw me out of affinity with the light of the Creator. And so this is where we're getting thrown off. This is our shadow side, right? This is our self-defeatism. These are those subconscious programs that keep us cycling through the same loops. These are the limiting beliefs that we think are just, our credo, and we're so attached to them, right? These labels that we give ourselves. This is when we can see, oh my gosh, when I am triggered, my nervous system is dysregulated, I go into these trauma response patterns, and that is something that keeps me in procrastination, or frozen in overwhelm, or in indecision, or in limerence, or in an aggressive state of hyperactivity but with no result, inability to take action, inability to choose, right? It's like we thought, I thought these were deeply embedded into my personality. It might just be the remnants of trauma in your nervous system. And maybe we just all need to start regulating our nervous system, just like our daily hygiene, right? We do, our prayers to keep our soul purified. We do our energy cleanses to keep our auras clean. We do our mental checks to keep our minds clean and our thoughts clean. We do the healing work to purify the heart from where, maybe we and others have had a really great time and left some party remnants behind. A little ding here and there in the wall, if you will. And we clean it up so that we are purifying the vessel, so that we can be vessels of the light, greater vessels of sharing, greater, radiance. We can connect with our potential that helps us connect to our individual unique talents and gifts that the world actually needs. And we need to give that to the world, or else we're hoarding it. And so there's something that you've been through, or something that you've learned, or something that you've achieved, and your quirks and your personality and your life experience has brought you to a position that you have something to offer the world in some way. And so our cards today are really kind of looking at that. And so I got on a tangent again, but I think it was a helpful one. So in Kabbalah class 9, we are looking at the shadow, the triggers coming up. And they compared it to worms coming up out of an apple that you're eating. And you're you don't want the worm to go back in the apple. That will spoil the fruit. It'll eat away at it. And it'll be gross and rotten and defiled, right? And so you want to get the worm out. And so when the worm makes pokes its little head out, that's the trigger, right? And instead of turning away, repulsed by the trigger, and throwing the apple down, we need to instead go grab it and remove it. And be like, oh my gosh, thank God this happened so I can get rid of it before it's done too much damage. So that was where, the class was kind of getting at it. It was look at your darkness, and then we're taking that out of the apple. And so one of the class exercises as a journal entry was to write down in what ways are we lying to ourselves? What ways do I lie to myself? What ways do you lie to yourself? If you can give yourself 10 minutes to free write on all the ways that you lie to yourself, right? And then the second journal entry was when I find that I'm triggered, or when I'm triggered by this lie that I tell myself, what are my go-to reactive behaviors? What are my triggered behaviors? Do you avoid? Do you start workaholism? What does that, do you numb out? Are you going through cycles of addiction? What do you do? Do you try to fix everything immediately and then don't think everything through and don't troubleshoot the situation or make the right choice in the moment? Do you hold yourself back or self-sabotage? In what ways do you self-sabotage? So these are the the two questions that I think are coming up in this reading too. And I think it's this great assignment. So that was going on in the last few weeks. So it wasn't too late for me to hear that. Oh, wow, we're still in the Omer. This is still a great exercise to do during the Omer. This is in alignment with all of the other readings for this week. So you should listen to, or watch the other tarot oracle readings for Monday and for Wednesday, because they're all interconnected with today's Friday message. And they go deeper into the lesson itself and into the process of how we are approaching this lesson. And so then as we take those things into account and how we've been working with that this week, we come to the sun in Capricorn, which is achievement, followed by generosity, which is Saturn in Leo, followed by Mercury in Leo, drama, followed by the moon in Pisces, which is empathy. Underneath achievement, we've got 7 of Swords in reverse. We have generosity, clarified by the Lovers in reverse. Drama, clarified by the World reversed. And then empathy is clarified by the Emperor reverse. Awesome. So, achievement and 7 of Swords reverse. Interestingly enough, on Monday, we started the week with 7 of Swords upright. How are we lying to ourselves? How are we disingenuous or not in authenticity, or, where are things robbing us of our resources, right? But mostly it was, where are we lying to ourselves, right? So now we have 7 of Swords reversed, sort of maybe getting more, honing in more on what that is, and so getting more clarity on it. 7 of Swords has to do with receiving good advice and good information, and then putting that into action. With achievement here, I feel like also there's a personal message to this reading, and then there's also a universal, how you apply the reading to yourself, and then how you apply the reading to your actions. So the how you apply the reading to yourself, I'm just gonna synopsize it really quick, because then I want to synopsize the how you apply it to your outer work, and then we can break it down card by card. So the personal message I'm getting right now is to search yourself for ways that you've been lying to yourself, and then put that in synchronicity with some really good insight and advice you've been given recently about how to move forward and go from there and create new, better, healthier patterns and structures and roots. And we're going to, the more that we lend ourselves to, the more brutally honest with ourselves that we are in the situation, the more change, the more positive change will come in our lives, the more we will achieve. So the more deeply and brutally cold-blooded honesty we can get with ourselves, and the more that we're going to be able to truly transform and truly change on the inside, which is going to bring about our greater fulfillment on the outside as well. And quite possibly it might be the ransom for our outer achievement, right? It might be the inner work that we need to do before Creator will allow us to have the outer fulfillment of our goal, because that will maybe stall our progress. It maybe will get us off track, right? So in order to attain our outer goal, this is always the case. We have to make the inside what we want the outside to be, right? First. So doing the inner work, healing our inner child, and healing and integrating our shadow and overcoming these old patterns, right? And old subconscious beliefs and self-saboteurs that we're kind of blinded to. So these are all coming up, and we're learning how to shift and change. And so the more we put our earnest efforts into making those transformations and changes, the more they're taking root, and the more they're starting to be outwardly reflected in our life. So the Lover's card has to do with being decisive and making the right choices and not rushing your decision, and making a choice that's true to you. But also it's like it warns against trying to have something both ways so that you can have your cake and eat it too, because it just creates an unstable and insecure situation. Trying to have it all when you need to make a choice and commit or devote to one path or the other, makes everything shaky, and it doesn't give any part of anything the 100% that it needs. So split in two directions. Indecision is the core of what is holding the situation up right now. Now, generosity is interesting because this card depicts someone like giving a message to a crowd, like they're telling, like this is a prophet, right? That's doing their acts and giving their prophecies, and it's like they're the teacher of this speaker here, the student that's then going forth and like telling about what they've learned. So again, back to that theme of we've come through something, we've gained some skill, we've gained some knowledge. There's something that that we can share with others. And so, like in my case, quite literally, it's like bringing forward like prophecies and secret teachings of Jesus and things like this, and like making decisions in my life that I've had to sacrifice for to try to put myself fully in this direction and commit to it and be consistent with it, right? So literally in the situation, the card is quite literal, but it can be more general than that, right? You can be creating something to share with the world. It can be the way that you're trying to get your marketing plan together for your product. It can be the way that you are approaching your friends and community to, try to get them on board with an idea or something that you think they're going to help. It's like something about, in order to move forward in your life and share the light within you that you were meant to share, it's like this indecision is what you have to overcome, and rumination, and getting caught up and not actually taking an action and like going full on in a direction. Okay, so back, in the self here, the Mercury in Leo card has to do with being like putting yourself out there in like a fun, like warm, theatrical way, and like delivering a message that draws a lot of attention. It's like evangelicalism, like at its finest, when you think of like oh my gosh, did you guys see Perry Mason, the HBO series, very noir? There is like this, it's like in the Dust Bowl period in the Great Depression. And so there's this dark femme fatale character with platinum blonde bob, and she is like this tent revivalist who's a little bit like insane, and she's an amazing, like vibrant, like just captivating star of a character, but she's got these like convicting like sermons, and she gets the people going. It's provocative. So there's something about the World card is a major arcana card that is telling you like, hey, like you're refusing to change. There is something that you are not doing, that you are not embodying, or you are refusing to grow in this area, and you're holding yourself back because of it. And so like there might be something in your past where you felt shamed or guilted for drawing attention to yourself. and for getting attention. And so on top of that, our higher self, from a state of like cause consciousness or giver consciousness versus taking consciousness, from a taking consciousness, yes, there are people out there that are what we call egotistical, that are trying to, we call them attention whores, and we put those qualities in the shadow and we shame them because those people just don't realize that they are coming from a taker consciousness, and they are trying to take attention, and they are trying to draw that energy upon themselves to build up their self-worth from it, right? And so that is, what can I get? What can I get from my audience? Can I get attention? It's for myself, it's for my own glorification, right? That's very different from the sharing consciousness, which is I need to draw attention to what I am trying to offer people, because the message or the tool or the resource or the product or this vitamin or this hair tool, it doesn't have to seem deeply life-changing for something to be deeply life-changing. Do you know what it's like to find the right hair product when you have like 9 that do like kind of what you want, but like it takes 9 products to like look not that good? What if there was one good one? Oh my gosh, that seems so superficial, but it would be like huge, right? So don't ever discount some of the mundane things going on in your life in these readings. They apply to all levels. Remember the orchard concept, the surface level, the material, the deeper and deeper and deeper we go, right? So where were we? Okay, so just be willing to adapt and change. First of all, this is willingness to adapt and change. And then this is embracing not like overcoming the part of you that is afraid to be animated and theatrical and try to be attention seeking and drawing attention to yourself, because you're doing it for the right reason. And maybe you were given the kind of qualities that naturally draw attention to yourself because you were going to come to a point in your life where you needed those qualities, right? Like, think about Barack Obama, like his presence and his kind of like smooth character and his like dignity. It was so appealing, same with like JFK and like some of the people that made them all the more compelling to like go along with what they're saying, because you're just like so like drawn by their presence. So yeah, if you're like ashamed of that and you've been maybe trolled for that and you're like, oh no, I don't want to seem like a monster, you're not doing it for the wrong reasons, and you're holding back this gift or this solution that you need, that people need, that they want to find. There are sometimes I love commercials, because if I'm targeted to by the marketing people listening to my phone, it's like, okay, well then fine, send me stuff that I really want to see then. It's good, use it to the advantage, right? So something about starting to get comfortable and feel good about expressing yourself. Don't hold back, like be your own uniqueness in this world and the way that you express. And so there also, when you approach that, there's also like this, because we're empathic, and because you're so like fluid and like Pisces, it's like your energy and your attention gets drawn to and here and there, and your emotions do too. And so it's causing you to get distracted and like Emperor reverse mode, where you don't have your shit under control. And so it's like this situation is going to call for you to have discipline and just like bootstrap up and get focused and set like systems for yourself to keep yourself accountable, like physical lists, physical outlines, like physical things that keep you grounded and in the physical process of keeping these things together and doing it. And you're gonna have to like really focus to shift the quality of your thoughts and attention and your perceptions, because your whole system is going to want to go back to its muscle memory, right? Your nervous system is going to want to go back to its default setting. Your mindset, your perceptions are going to want to go back to their default setting. Your your learned mood patterns are just going to go back to their normal settings, right? It's like first it starts with a thought, then it's like a thought loop, then it starts affecting our emotions, then we ruminate in these thought loops, and then we ruminate in these emotions, then they turn into moods, and then we're mood swingy, and then it's like, oh, I'm just used to being this, like having this cycle of like moodiness, right? So no, it's like we're breaking that, but it takes discipline, and it takes attention, and it takes intention, and sticking with it, and practicing presence and awareness. So, okay, so that's the message for the self personally. Now, how it applies to what we are putting out into the world, because I think a lot of us that are on this, in this collective, are creators, or we have dreams, or there's something outside of ourselves that we do or want to create. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to be traditional artists and traditional creatives. You know, I would consider any person that has a brand or a small business, or they're an entrepreneur, those are very creative endeavors. Maybe you cook, maybe you have like systems of like dietary health eating programs and recipes that you make, like, you know, anything like that you yield forth and bring forth. Maybe you're just wanting to tune into that side of the spiritual soul-led side of yourself and tap into that, you know, from scratch. Like, you know, maybe you don't have any idea where that's going to take you yet, but it's okay, because when you start taking in this kind of material, it plants the seeds to set your subconscious to aim in that direction, to lead you toward those answers. It's like, seek and ye shall find. You got to walk into the Red Sea before it splits, meaning you sometimes have to just start following your curiosity and delving into studying things before you know exactly what you're studying or what you're going to do with it yet. For instance, I've always just kind of been into things that have to do with digital marketing, and I've always looked for ways to find like just traditional professional, my niche in that world. You know, I have a background of filmmaking, photography, video, lighting, like just general art. And it's just like, I'm like, what do I do with this? What exactly do I do? And then I'm like, I love like writing, and copywriting makes sense to me, and all of those things. And I like the general idea of like digital marketing, and I always have. And so I've like watched a million workshops over the years, and I feel like I have a degree, and I could probably write my own school just based on the workshops that I did, because I never had the money to actually take the class, and I had to go do the research myself to fill in the gaps. See how life kind of presents you these underdog opportunities, but you have to like kind of follow your curiosity. And sometimes you don't know what it's all going to amount to. To other people, it just looked like I was like living in pipe dreams all the time, like numbing out to watching these like webinars. But to me, I was gradually Frankensteining together an education that I had no roadmap to. So what were they doing? They were just numbing out on Reddit, projecting, you know, and so see, you can't let people throw their garbage onto you. Okay, so as you are going forth in the world, proudly doing your thing and putting it out there, as you, like, okay, I'm going to use my thing as an example. So I am like kind of looking into and like kind of starting this like digital marketing venture in the background of this, hoping to like create more remote and passive opportunities for myself so I can be free to create and lend myself to this, and eventually hopefully make courses for you guys and like, you know, series and things like that, so that you can take workshops and whatnot and have it, you know, that's what I would like to do. And so I've started this thing, and it's not like this where I'm channeling like these messages for spirituality's sake. It's like I'm doing something that feels like it's in a very different realm, but I'm trying to find my way of channeling that creativity through there as well and finding that voice. And it's a realm where I was like, okay, on this channel, I don't really push like booking readings and stuff, because I think that people should feel compelled to because their intuition sends them to do that at that time. So I never want to be like kind of planting too many seeds to mess with someone's own natural intuition. Let's just put it that way. And so I also don't want to put a lot of financial pressure on like sharing prophecy with people. I like to do this every day so that there's always some free like nourishment. And this is like what I'm doing here. It's like I'm not holding anything back. There's nothing that I'm not saying that I'm like, okay, and continue on for the next reading. Not that there's anything wrong with that either. Not that they're holding back. They just haven't pulled those cards yet, right? But sometimes in the realm of digital products and services and education and coaching and things like that, people have to figure out, okay, well, what am I going to just give for free and what do I reserve back? And so this card is saying, come at it with a consciousness of abundance and not scarcity. Be generous. You will achieve more by like giving great advice and not holding back things that will help people thrive, but like knowing how to strategically deliver that in a way that is digestible to them so that it does them some good. So like every great coach out there that has a huge brand, or every thought leader that has a great brand, they deliver value consistently, always. They talk about what they wrote in their book. They give you charts and graphs and like their formulas, and they talk about it ad nauseum. They pretty much give you everything they know all the time for free. But they're not holding anything back. They're not keeping anything secret. They're giving it all up front, and they're achieving more because of it. Because they're not afraid they're not going to sell their course or sell their product, because people still need a structure, a plan. Like I love having like a structure and a plan that's given. That's why I love being in the Kabbalah Center and taking classes. That's why I love like being a part of To Be Magnetic and paying that monthly membership. It's like nothing. It's like, oh, I can go here and like go directly to my inner child and unblock that and rewrite my nervous system. And I already have all the tools in one place and more like supportive content than I can ever consume. It's like, yeah, no brainer. So it's like, make your mistake by over delivering. Don't hold your wisdom back, right? But when it comes to like, say, one-on-one, don't burn yourself out in that way, right? Find ways that you can not hold back while still having healthy, sustainable boundaries. Does that make sense? Always give value. Always come from a consciousness of what can I share? How can I share what I've learned to help others? What can I give, right? And then if you seek to do that, then like abundance will follow. But if you first seek to like, how can I gain? Is this going to be a high converting kind of post? What can I do to like hook? I mean, you do kind of have to hook people in a positive way. But where is your consciousness coming from? Are you obsessed with results? So much so that you've kind of like watered down and diluted your creativity? Or are you leaning in and like you're like leaning in into a vision and you've like streamlined something and you've got like your color palette and but you're not letting your perfectionism hold you back, kind of thing. Are we making sense? There's a lot of us in here. Okay, so achievement is the more that you can like be generous and not hold back, and the more that you will achieve with people. The more authentic you are, right? The more spiritually generous of heart, vulnerable, open, real. And so now the generosity card comes up again, in a way. It's like, I feel like in a way that the achievement and the generosity card are really super connected in this reading. And so when you are making decisions and choices, like choose on the side of generosity, right? What can you give? Like you're here to proclaim the good news to people. And so it's like when you make your choices as a brand, as an artist, as a visionary, as an icon. It's like, where are you making your choices from? Are you in a state of giver consciousness, or are you in a state of taker consciousness? Also, are you in a state of indecision, right? Going back and forth, trying to have it both ways, spreading yourself too thin. You sometimes you just have to like bite the bullet and commit and go and focus and hone in. And so don't let indecision hold you back with the lovers being in reverse. And then as you make choices, don't like, make sure you're choosing from your higher self, right? From that consciousness of creation consciousness, not destroyer consciousness, sharing consciousness, not taking consciousness. Okay, and so the drama and the world reversed. So there, like, adaptability in today's online digital world and in the world in general is just absolutely necessary. We need to be willing to try out different approaches and tactics and formulas and apps, and not get too stuck using the same one or the same way, or not changing it up and experimenting with different things, because algorithms are always changing. The pulse of the zeitgeist is constantly changing. So we kind of have to be able to adapt to like the next update every, however often, right? We're always updating. So don't get too set in your ways. Be adaptable, be willing to change in the way that you put yourself out there in the world, right? I can't help but relate this Mercury in Leo to like social media. It's like, if you have something to give to this world today, it's like you're kind of like you're holding yourself back if you're not out there, on a platform speaking out to your crowd. You need to speak to someone if you're gonna buy, if anybody's gonna buy a product that you have. No one will know about it, and they don't know to get it from you unless you're like, hey, I'm over here, get this from me. So I love this show, The Chosen. You guys, if you've been watching my videos, we've been talking about it. It's been our ongoing metaphor. I go through different shows where it's like perfect metaphor. Like for a while it was Sabrina. I love Sabrina too. So Chilling Tales of Sabrina, to be specific. Okay, so The Chosen. If Jesus were here today, he'd probably be on social media as well as like going out and like being out with people. Jesus was like not sitting in one place. He was out on tour, and he was going to the places that were like difficult and hard to get to. It wasn't easy for him either. He had to like draw a crowd, but once he did, it was like blessed. He was like, oh my gosh, he like blew up. Now there is this guy named Shmael, who is one of the Pharisees, who was like plotting against Jesus, because he was all like, who does Jesus think he is? He didn't even get a traditional education. And I'm over here following all the rules and like, ticking off all my, boxes. And, here comes Jesus just doing his thing. And so Shmuel goes on basically like he goes on to like this life, what is it called when it's like your mission in life to like go against someone? It's like your, not his credo. He wasn't a vigilante, but anyway, it made his mission in life was to call out the false prophets. And so he was like trying to get on this like soapbox. He was like in this market, and everybody's there for the Feast of the Tabernacles, Sukkot. And like, so like all these people have like made their pilgrimage to Jerusalem, and he goes into the market and he's like trying to like create like a following, and he's never like created a following. And here's like cool Jesus, and everybody's like, oh my God, Jesus is going to be speaking later. Like everybody's got to go. He's going to do a third performance. Like we've got go like, get everybody, come back. And like, here's Shmael over here, like trying to be like, no, everybody like down on the Beatles, like what is Elvis doing? Like shaking his hips over there. And so the Shmael's got like one guy with him. He's another Pharisee, and the Pharisee is like, all right, Shmael, if you want to form a crowd, like you've got to start here. Here's the marketplace. Like these are where the people are. This is where the salt of the earth folk. This is who you have to connect with. He was like, here, stand on this or that. And he was like, what do you mean? And he was like, you got to stand up on something. Like here's a crate. And so he's like, you gotta have your platform, and now you gotta like start just talking to people. Like they're hungry for what you have to say. Just go for it. He's like, let's pray. And he was like, started to say the prayer to like protect someone from death. And he was like, oh my God. And he was like, well, tensions are high. Like people can turn on you. And he's like, never know how it's gonna work out, right? Trolls, even in those times. So I was just like, wow, no matter what time period you live in, even Jesus himself had to like put himself out there at some point, just be like, so has anybody noticed the price in eggs these days? And taxes, So we've got to like, take our yoke upon us to put ourselves out into the world without getting stuck in our ways and like stuck in like self-defeating tendencies, holding ourselves back. And once again, what will give us real authority with people is like, first of all, our discipline and consistency to show up and be reliable and to be a reliable, authentic voice that people are used to hearing. But that's going to come from our empathy with them. Putting our ear to the heartbeat of the zeitgeist is knowing like, okay, I listen to you and I feel your pain and I understand your plight and how you feel. I see your struggle and what you're going through dealing with this gap in the market. And so I understand you because I am you. I've like been there with you in that pain, and now I have figured out a way, because I don't want anybody else to have to deal with this, to like try to resolve that. And so this is the solution. And so that's where you lead from. You lead from your empathy with people. That's how a good copywriting is done. That's how good marketing is done. It's not by saying, look at us, we're so great. It's, hey, look over here, we're great because this is what we can give to you. This is what we're giving to you is awesome. And so we have to present it in a way that you will notice it. But otherwise, like, here's this, it's going to solve a lot for you. So it's like you will be greater served by overgiving your like generosity of spirit to your audience, your authenticity. Don't be afraid to be animated and out there and make, get some attention, right? And express your creative authenticity, right? Your unique creative voice. You don't have to do what everybody else is doing exactly the way they do it, but also take the best of the advice and what advice is like the core principles and apply it to what you're doing. And then, the Emperor reversed, it's a need of discipline. It's a need of like taking action and getting a plan going and following up on plans and just getting in it and having discipline and taking responsibility, duty and perseverance. All right, you guys, I hope you have a good weekend. Shabbat shalom.